Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I wanted to walk you through my business routine. So this is just going to be kind of a walkthrough. I'll probably consider doing a plan with me later, and that may involve once I've done my walkthrough of Notion, because a lot of this stuff is being kept there. And I'll talk a little bit more about the delineation between my analog and digital in a different video that's going to be a part of the goal setting series. So just keep an eye out for that. But I did tell you that I had been working on these and I wanted to walk you through what they look like right now. I'm still very much modifying these, so this is not by any means the final version, but I figured you would be interested to see kind of what I'm thinking right now. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. All right, so we're going to start first with, we'll do big picture to small picture, so we'll start with annual. So the first thing that I will want to do when I'm doing my annual business review is to complete my year-end financials. Now, generally I try and do my annual review a little bit before the end of the year. So this might actually end up being done in 2 steps, but considering that I'm usually putting my financials together for the entire year in April of the following year when I'm getting ready to do taxes, I think if I get everything recorded that I've done so far, I will be actually doing well. So essentially, it'll be catching everything up year to date and then moving everything over into the cash flow so that it's ready to go. I just need to add in the rest of December and it'll be done. So the next part will be to review annual performance. So I'm going to want to look back at my financials, statistics, and the themes and the topics that I talked about. See what went well, what didn't go well, and maybe what I want to change for next year. The next thing, based on that information, is I'll want to do goal prep work for the next year. So that's setting and updating the long range 1+ year goals. Next after that, part of that whole goal process is noting any big dates or travel plans that might affect planning. And then based on that information, I can tentatively set kind of quarterly goals and projects, like what I think I want to try and get done when. We'll review my business plan for any changes for the following year. If I want to introduce something new, if I want to get rid of something that isn't doing well, just kind of look and see, is there anything that I want to change? I like to schedule out quarterly and monthly reviews at the beginning of the year, so that way I know when I want to get them done and I can plan around them rather than kind of just hoping they'll happen. And then I think annually is also a good time to review and update visual identity and branding. So if there's anything I want to change with logos, images, anything I want to make look fresh, that's kind of the good time to do that. So that would be anything for YouTube, Etsy, my blog, Instagram, Facebook. And obviously I want to try and make sure they're all cohesive and they tie together. I don't know that that may necessarily be the case right now, but that will probably be something I'll look at the end of the year. All right, on to quarterly. So the next thing that I will be doing will be at the quarterly marks. So be March, June, September, and then usually quarterly and annually I kind of roll in together. So quarterly, I'm going to be looking for tasks and projects that I keep moving forward. I'm sure we all have these where you're like, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. Well, I need to look for those and see, is this something I still would like to do? Is it still relevant, or is it something I just want to drop and forget about? It's a good time to review and adjust annual goals and break them down for the next quarter. As we all know, as what's happened recently, sometimes things change in the world around us, and so what we thought we were going to work on in Q3 when we were in December 15th of the prior year may not actually be the case. So at this quarterly review, it's a good time to look and see what I planned. Is that still a valid option? Is that still something I want to do, or do I want to actually change that and go in a different direction? It's also a time when I want to review trends and incorporate them into videos, posts, and listings. I have a note here to review and use Google Keyword Planner to research topics. So that's a good way to see what's popular right now. And as a result of that, I will review and create or update my editorial calendar for the next quarter. Now, this year's kind of an unusual thing. I actually have all my videos planned out through the end of the year. So I will be more on the review side and potentially update side rather than the create side. I've been more on the creating side in the past, but with this goal setting series and some of the videos that tie in, I have plenty of content, which is a good problem to have. All right, so next up is just to sit down and make a list of what has my attention and add that to the projects and the task lists. Today, actually, I sat down I had found a bunch of old notes and things, and I went through and added in anything that I wanted to keep for whatever reason into my system. Right now I'm keeping that in Notion, so it was random notes about the blog, topics I wanted to cover. I just scanned a bunch of the papers in and I'll just attach the image. So if I want to review it at some point in the future, that'll be available. But I also don't have a bunch of little tiny pieces of paper floating around, which is kind of how it is right now. All right, so next up is monthly. And as quarterly and annually tie in together, so monthly and quarterly kind of tie in together. I generally, well, actually with the quarterly, I tend to do the quarterly review the week before the monthly review. It just kind of depends on how much things have changed. If things have changed quite a bit, I split them up. If it's just kind of status quo, business as usual, then I may combine them. But at the end of the month, I want to finalize the business income and expenses for the month, being that I want to put them down and track them, and then add them to the cash flow. Record statistics. So these are the statistics that I am reviewing up here annually. Track progress on key metrics. So if I have some sort of a goal and I have a key metric that I'm using to track my progress, that's what I'm tracking here. Review prior month's financials and statistics. KPIs is key performance indicator. So it's essentially the same thing as a key metric. I want to note what went well and what could be done to improve for next month. So when I say prior month, I'm talking about the month that I'm currently wrapping up. Check monthly calendars for the next 2 to 3 months for things that may reduce available time. I do that annually, but we all know our schedules change. So it's a good chance to look ahead for a couple of months and see what I have coming up that's new. I want to look back and see what tasks and projects I didn't end up completing and figure out, do I want to move them to the following month, to the master list, or I might even just drop them. It just depends on what it is. Review planner for tasks and projects, then archive and replace as needed. So if I'm doing something in a paper planner or working with a paper planner, monthly is when I kind of flip through everything, see what notes I need to write down and transfer forward, and then archive and replace with like blank pages as I need to. This is also the time when I look at my quarterly goals and break them down into monthly projects. I schedule out those projects and tasks, and then I update my monthly tending list. So I do still use my power sheets, just kind of as a place to write down my thoughts on paper. But most of the tracking is actually done in Notion. Coordinate or schedule any networking or collaboration for the next month. So if I want to do a collaborative video with somebody, monthly review is kind of when I sit down and identify who that might be, who, that I need to reach out to them. If I have already, if I haven't, if I have something in progress, that's kind of when I work on that. Again, reviewing and updating editorial calendar, reviewing my Etsy listings and scheduling removal of expiring listings. I haven't done this, but I really probably should. Review and update YouTube playlists just to kind of keep them fresh and make sure that I have new things that are being introduced on there and taking off, videos that have been removed or made private or something like that. And then monthly is also when I look at my daily and weekly routines and update those if needed. I think this is also probably more so on the personal side, but the daily and the weekly is really where a lot of the everyday stuff happens, and so if I need to update something, usually it's in the daily or weekly side. All right, that being said, let's get into weekly. So on a weekly basis, I would like to try and log business income and expenses. So if I can kind of keep up with it, it's not so much to do. It takes less time to do 1 week's than it does to do months, and obviously it takes much less time to do it on a monthly basis than it does to do it on a yearly basis. So I am going to try and keep up with this going forward. I think, I'm trying to remember, might be April or May, but all of this stuff, time just blends together. So I need to go back and see when I last finished updating stuff, but I do know that I am probably maybe a month behind. So I also want to review prior week statistics and key performance indicators, note what went well and what could be done to improve for next week. I mean, honestly, I think you'll notice I'm just looking and reviewing them, but I'm actually not recording until we get monthly. So usually weekly, I'm just looking at the previous week's videos. How did that go? Were they popular? Did they just get ignored? What happened? might be a good time to try a different video title, something like that. So just to kind of keep an eye on it and catch anything early before it gets too out of bounds. It's a good time to check my calendar for things that might reduce available time this week. So if all of a sudden I've had a large project or a long meeting that's appeared on my horizon for my day job, it's a good time to know that I need to adjust maybe my filming and editing schedule. Review last week's tasks and update, migrate unfinished tasks from previous week to current week or to master list. It's kind of my time to look and see what didn't I get done. Do I need to do it this week, or is it something that was kind of a would like to do that I can just put back kind of into the pool of tasks to be chosen later? I usually also will review last week's schedule for any items that I need to follow up on. So kind of look backwards and see, was there something I promised somebody? Was there a meeting I had with someone that there were some tasks that came out of? I also usually will look now at my master task list and project lists and add whatever tasks I need to for the week. So this is when I'm kind of breaking down. So these are all the things that I can do. What is it that I want to do this week? Review and update filming and editing schedule as needed. This is dependent on a lot of the other things that I have going on. So that's why I have it kind of toward the end, because the filming and editing schedule is a little more flexible. I don't have to do it on a specific day at a specific time, so I can move it so it fits in around other things. Review and process planner notes and other sections for actionable items. I have finally started keeping a notebook. It's actually a junior size disc-bound notebook from Levenger. I'm super bad about grabbing random post-it notes and scraps of paper to make random notes on. And then I end up with a giant pile of random notes that doesn't stay together very well. So I've grabbed this notebook and anointed it the random notes notebook. So I have a place that if I'm on a meeting, if I'm on a phone call, if I have an idea, I have a notebook that I can grab and jot a note down in. So that way I have it so I can process from one location at a later point in time. Otherwise I end up with notes in Notion, notes in a notebook, notes in a different notebook, notes in my planner, everywhere. So I'm trying to keep it condensed so I don't lose anything. Because I think that's the problem for most of us. We're getting information thrown at us so quickly, it's really hard to keep up and figure out, you know, is this something I need to keep, and just keep it all wrangled so that the information that we're taking in is actually useful to us. The next thing is to return any unreturned messages. I do try and keep up with this on a daily basis, but you know, sometimes things build up or something happens and you're just not able to check stuff. So that's in email, Instagram, Etsy order comments and notes, which I think I've mentioned this before, but I found out because I'm a digital shop, all of my orders go straight to completed. So unless I go through, there's actually no notification that I've received an order comment or notes. So if you ever do send me something, I prefer, if you could please send it through the direct messages, because otherwise I may not see it. The other place, YouTube comments. I do try and keep up with those again on a daily basis. I have a notification set so I know when you comment on any of my videos. And so many of you might have noticed that if you comment in an older video, I do actually see it and respond. Thankfully, YouTube is great about letting us as creators know when we have something that you've commented on our videos. So anything from any of those different buckets, as buckets of incoming information. Anytime I have an action item for that, then I'll add it to the appropriate list. After that, I mean, sometimes any of these things here will just prompt something else that, you know, oh, that reminds me I need to. So from there, I just add whatever that is to the appropriate list. If it's a project, if it's a task, if it's like something to think about doing on a someday maybe list, I put it in the right spot. After that, I usually will look through my waiting for or follow-up list and just kind of schedule follow-up if it needs to happen. If it's just something that I'm like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm fine. Then I just kind of leave it alone. Weekly, then I'll also plan any custom requests that I've received. So by that, I mean more of like scheduling it out throughout the week when I'll work on it, and what the different steps are that I need to do in order to get that out. And then finally, if I'm going to, I'll plan social media posts weekly. Most of the time I'm not. I post those kind of on a spontaneous ad hoc basis. But there are times when I'll plan out something specific. All right, so that brings us to daily. So the main thing I do try and take care of on a daily basis is returning messages and responding to comments. And kind of tied in with that, I think, is responding to custom requests, because those usually come in via direct message. I'm usually also checking 2 to 3 days ahead for needed preparation. So like at the end of the day, I'm looking 2 to 3 days ahead and thinking, is there anything I need to do for this thing that's coming up in a couple of days? I'll also review the day before and update it, make sure there's not anything I need to move forward or just move back to the main bucket of tasks to do. If I need to, I might time block and schedule certain tasks. Usually I'll do that if I need to do a bunch of filming. I'll block off, a specific amount of time, depending on what it is. If it is a overhead video like this one, I can do it any time of day because I use artificial light. But if I am filming something that's my face, like a lot of the goal setting series have been, I usually need to try and schedule that sometime in the afternoon. The light is best. I can't do it too late in the day because the sun actually comes straight in to the living room windows and it pretty much blows out all of the color and the light and everything. It's a little too much. So sometimes I'll need to time block and schedule out like filming and that sort of thing. And then if I have any new or additional next up projects, I'll add those to the appropriate list. So a lot of this looks like what you would do normally, but it's just thinking of these things kind of on a business basis. And then for those who are curious, I kind of keep the same schedule that I do for my normal reviews. The annual review, I usually do first or second week of December. Quarterly review, I do every third month. And usually I will do it like on the end of the second week. Monthly review, I do it in the third week. And then the weekly review, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It just kind of depends on what's going on. Like actual work weekly reviews for my day job, sometimes I'll do on Monday mornings. Just kind of like regroup and figure out what I need to work on, especially if a lot of stuff came in on my email over the weekend. And then the daily review I usually do each night. And I don't do it like right before bed. Usually I do it about 6 or 7 o'clock. I usually am done with my day job work at 6. That's what time our company closes. And so many times if I'm at the office or even at home, I'll just hang out at my desk for another 10, 15, 20 minutes and just plan out the next day. Actually, I'm trying to be better, especially for the work-related things, to do that during work hours, so I'm not doing it on my own time. But usually I start that about an hour before the end of the day, the workday wrap up for my day job, and then it just kind of morphs and continues into personal stuff and my YouTube and Etsy things after that. But I do the daily review each night for the most part. If nothing else, I pick kind of the top 3 things I need to work on the next day. All right, that was a not so quick overview of what my business routines are looking like right now. A lot of it is just double checking, making sure nothing's falling through the cracks, making sure I'm planning ahead. But the thing I did go back and add in was some more review items. It's funny that I was calling these reviews, but all it really was planning. So that's why I did add in reviewing the last week, reviewing the last day, reviewing the last month, because I do think that's important. If I'm constantly looking forward, I might just be repeating something that I don't want to repeat because it didn't go very well. I'm in the process of revamping a lot of my review processes in Notion. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. There's a specific person, August Bradley, I think. I don't remember, I'm not in front of my computer. But he actually has an actual review process that I have been looking into how he handles that, and I was very impressed. Realized that that was something I need to be doing more of. So I've been trying to build that into my own routines and my own reviews so that they're actually reviews and not just looking forward. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, especially if you have any like glaring things like, oh, why don't you do this? You should consider doing this to help keep your company running smoothly, or your side business. I would love to know if I have missed anything, because that does happen. Or if you have something that works really well for you, I'd love to hear it. Anyway, I thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!